is it still possible in this day and age to disagree politely? We're going to figure out how to start an argument without being offensive today. What's up? You're watching Tito Talks English Mondays discussion once again with your favorite Tito Miguel, who loves to make English discussions easier to understand for both agents and clients. Magandang Monday po sa atin lahat. Happy long weekend, or just about the end of the long weekend. Happy Souls Day to you guys as well. I hope you guys are all safe. I hope you guys are all healthy. And most importantly, I hope you guys are all dry. With Bagyong Rolly just passing by the country over the weekend. I do hope that you are safe. For today, we've got a very interesting topic at hand as we are going to talk about disagreeing politely, which is a skill that I really believe we all have to learn today, especially in today's day and age where people could get offended by almost anything, even the smallest things. Whether or not that's good or bad, it's not for me to say, but the fact remains you will almost always encounter people who have different opinions from you, who have different perspectives from you. Not necessarily saying that they're wrong, but knowing how to handle disagreements, knowing how to introduce arguments, knowing how to start these arguments or mini debates is of crucial importance, especially to agents. Because of the way people have treated insurance in this country for the longest time, insurance isn't that popular in the Philippines. This is because a lot of people have varied opinions about insurance. Dagdag gastos lang yan. Di ko naman kailangan yan. Di naman ako na-aksidente. Matibay naman yung bahay ko. Maingat naman ako mag-drive. And the arguments could go on and on. And one of the most important skills you need to have as an agent is to tell your customer that they're wrong about what they're thinking, and of course to convince them to believe in what you say. Yes, you need insurance no matter how good you are at driving, no matter how nice and sturdy your house is, no matter how careful you are as a person. Anyone with something valuable to them, whether those be their family members, their assets, their cars, their houses, or businesses, always need insurance. And the thing is, not everyone thinks exactly the same way. So you have to be prepared to encounter people who disagree, sometimes strongly disagree with that opinion, and you have to be prepared to politely enter the arena. A small discussion, a debate, an argument with them. And the goal here is not to prove that they're wrong, but the goal here is to show them a different perspective that they could be missing. At the same time, all at the same time, while maintaining a positive relationship with them throughout the discussion. Sounds difficult? Not really. Here are 5 phrases that you can use to help start a friendly discussion on your differences without being offensive. That's a common misconception. This is quite a popular term, and it is really useful, especially when you encounter customers who have the wrong idea about insurance. It's your way of letting your customer know that, yep, that's true. A lot of people think like that. However, if you talk to someone like me, you'll find out that things are a little bit different. Although, be sure that when you use this, or when you say that that's a common misconception, you'll have to get into detail as to why it is a misconception, why it is wrong, and what they should be thinking instead. A lot of my clients used to think that way, and this is a lot. This is a fancier way of saying number one, actually, because this actually accomplishes 2 things. Number one, of course, it starts a debate, or it starts an argument, or it starts a discussion between the two of you of why you have different opinions. But not only does it do that, it also gives your customer the impression that you have a lot of customers that you were able to convince otherwise, who now believe what you say, and you're still good friends with them, which tells them that they're not gonna get stressed out by this discussion. You're not gonna argue with them too violently. And what's most important is that the two of you are still going to be on good terms no matter what happens after the discussion. That's a fair point, but you typically use this when your customer is talking about a very complicated thing. Let's say, like about claims. Ang tagal naman kasi mag-file ng claim. Kaya ayoko nang kumuha ng insurance. Daming hassle. Babayaran na lang dapat ako eh. And as you'll note, that may be true in some cases, depending on what the claim is. So it's not exactly right to say that all claims are going to take some time or all claims are going to take forever to complete. And in order to explain that to your customer, you have to lay it in slowly. Yeah, I do understand that, sir. That's a fair point. Some claims could take a while. However, there are some claims that don't take a while, which means it really depends on the accident, ma'am sir. Kasi po, not all claims are created equal, and therefore some claims will take long, some claims don't take as long. That's an interesting point because I have a different opinion. And this is one of the more fancier ways to start a debate or a friendly argument with your client. When you say that's an interesting point, you're acknowledging the fact that they raise something of value. You're giving value to whatever proposition, to whatever opinion or perspective that they have. On top of respecting the opinion that they have, you're declaring that you may have something different to them. And via principles of reciprocation, your customer will equally be interested in what you think because you already recognized how interesting their opinion was. So what this actually does is it causes the person you're talking to be curious about why you think differently despite you finding what they said interesting. More likely than not, your customer will actually ask you to explain yourself, putting them in the proper state of mind to hear an opposing argument. This one's my personal favorite. I'm more of a pacifist than than a debater because you get a lot more accomplished if you don't actually create friction with the people that you talk to. Instead of going on right ahead and starting a small discussion about why they're wrong, it's actually sometimes better to let your customers explain themselves first. What do I mean when I say this? This is especially true when your customers have very, very strong opinions about insurance. And usually some of these opinions are misled. Some of these opinions are ill informed, ill equipped because they haven't spoken to you yet. And sometimes, because they have these very strong opinions, no matter how you introduce your counter argument, they're going to stick with what they know. So instead of brushing against them, you take the fight from their side. By doing so, in order to do that, you've got to ask them to elaborate on their point. Can you tell me why you feel this way? Is there a story behind this? Can you walk me through your train of thought? Why you came to this conclusion? Asking your customer to elaborate on why they feel a certain way about a particular topic not only gives them the impression that you're on their side and you want to understand them better, but it also gives you the opportunity to properly critique their position. Their arguments could have been anecdotal. Someone told them a story, someone told them an experience. Even worse, they saw something on social media that led them to create these opinions, which are not exactly as credible as they would like. That's why if you didn't know that, then you wouldn't be able to critique that properly. Sir, I know. Social media is a great way to connect with your friends, but it's not an accurate source of information. Sometimes you have to talk to agents such as myself in order to get the information that you need, so to speak. So when you ask your customer to go into detail about their opinions and such, you're giving yourself the opportunity to present a better argument, a better alternative, at the same time without creating a friction with the customer. Also, by virtue of you allowing your customer to vent out their ideas, to vent out their feelings, it creates a more positive relationship between the two of you because you're not agitating the customer. You're merely asking them to explain their side, which actually accomplishes more than simply rubbing off with them the wrong way. Now, before you put these things into practice, just a couple of tips before you go on and start arguing with people. Number one, be sure not to apologize for having a contrasting opinion. That's very, very important. You're not afraid or you're not sorry for having a different opinion, but you may be sorry for possibly offending them. But you shouldn't apologize for thinking differently, as you will note. Second of all, focus on their argument and not on them. The way that most people think is that an attack on my ideas is an attack on me, which is definitely not the case, and you don't want to rub off your customer that way. Focus on their argument. And finally, you may also want to think about focusing on the facts. Stories that people may have heard in the past, stories that your customers may have heard in the past, may or may not be true. You don't have proof. You weren't there when it happened. So instead of focusing on the validity of stories that your customer may or may not have heard, may or may not have validated, focus on the facts. Use the policy exclusions, use the policy coverages, use your statistics, use your studies. There are a lot of things that you could present to your customer besides stories to help emphasize your point. And with that being said, that concludes today's session. I hope you enjoyed this as much as I enjoyed sharing it today with you. Once again, this is your favorite Tito Miguel, if always saying, I hope you enjoy the rest of your